Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. This is the story of the disappearance of Kayla Decker from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Kayla was born September 13th, 1987. She is the mother of 3 young boys. She's described as outgoing. She made friends easily and had a large group of friends. However, she did not have a lot of family around her. She didn't have a close relationship with her family. At the time of her disappearance, Kayla Decker was living on Old Bee Spring Road in Bee Spring, Kentucky. She was suffering from lupus, an autoimmune disease in which the body's immune system attacks healthy cells. Kayla was last seen December 16, 2022. She attended a Little League basketball game at 225 East 3rd Avenue in Bowling Green, Kentucky. It was initially believed that the basketball game was the last sighting of her. However, investigators later found that she was seen at a church in the area. On December the 18th, 2022, Kayla's phone activity was at her residence on Old Bee Spring Road. On June 14, 2023, a concerned social worker filed a missing persons case with the Kentucky State Police when they couldn't contact her. Kayla lived a transient lifestyle and was known to move from place to place, making it difficult to track her whereabouts. She left behind her medication and a cane that she needed at her home. Her phone records, bank records, and social media have had no activity. Authorities searched the area where she was last seen, but they could find no clues of her whereabouts. Her husband, 38-year-old Durrell Dwight Decker, is believed to have seen her. He's believed to be the last person to see her. At the time of Kayla's disappearance, he had an ongoing criminal case against him for domestic violence. The 3 children had been removed from the home and put into foster care due to this domestic violence. So I don't know how deeply the police looked into him. I don't know what happened in the time that, because it was a year later before this foster or this social worker filed this missing person case. Nobody else had ever filed a case, to say that she was missing. The husband hadn't, and I don't know what happened with his domestic violence case, or if the judge or the lawyers or anyone wondered why this woman didn't show up. And when the social worker, I guess for the children who were in foster care, had no contact with her, they are the ones that reached out to the police. The circumstances of Kayla's disappearance remain unclear, and her case is classified as missing. Kayla is described as a white female born September 13, 1987. She has blonde hair and green eyes and stands about 5'6", weighing around 150 pounds. She has a large tattoo in her pelvic area, but the description of the tattoo is unknown. She has a nose ring piercing. There was no description of clothing that she may have been wearing. Now, she had attended this Little League basketball game I would assume that maybe it was one of her children that was playing in the game that day. And Kayla's sometimes is known to go by the name Berlin Decker. Now, it goes on to say that Kayla, her purse was found in a pond near her home. Her vehicle was towed from a Dollar General store nearby. I don't know if what they say, the contents of the purse, if there was anything in the purse that, like her money, her credit card, maybe identification was left behind. I'm guessing that there had to have been something in there to identify her so they knew whose purse this was. This was 2022, and you would think that the Dollar General store there had cameras. Did they check those cameras to see if she was with someone, if someone else drove her car to that Dollar General and left it? Was she seen coming in or out of the Dollar General store? That would have been something that the police would have asked about. But let's keep in mind that a year had passed, or about 7 months had passed before anyone reported her missing. So I don't know if they were able to get anything off of those cameras, or if, those had been erased or something. Now, it goes on to say, at the time of her disappearance, Kayla was living with her husband, Durrell Dwight Decker. He had an ongoing criminal case for domestic violence. Kayla was planning on leaving him, and she had gotten a restraining order on him. Kayla was set to testify against him in court. Their 3 children had been placed in foster care as a result of this domestic violence. And that's pretty much where this story ends. It doesn't go on to say anything about him, what may have happened in his case. I'm going to look him up real quick. He was arrested by the Bowling Green Police Department on August the 10th, 2022. Now, this would have been his initial arrest for the domestic violence. The description of the charges were strangulation in the 1st degree, assault in the 4th degree, and that caused injury. It doesn't say. I was trying to see if there was anything about him that was more recent. This is from a website called Recently Booked, and this is dated October 30th, 2023. Dwight Decker was booked in Warren County, Kentucky for criminal abuse of a child under 12. I guess Kayla was set to testify against him. My question is, when was his court date? Was his court date before the social worker reached out to Kentucky State Police concerned that she hadn't been able to get in contact with Kayla, or was it later? And if it was before Kayla was reported missing, what did the courts say when she didn't show up for court? Had they issued any kind of subpoena or anything for her to show up in court? I don't know. I couldn't find anything on that. It goes down here. It says strangulation in the 2nd degree, indictment, and he was indicted. It says his sentence length was 3 years, and the crime took place. Well, now it says here that the crime took place in June of 2023, so this could have been when he was sentenced. And this would have been around the time that the social worker was concerned that she couldn't find Kayla or get in touch with her. So maybe court was coming up and no one had heard from her, and they were trying to get in touch with her. And did Kayla voluntarily go missing so that she didn't have to testify, so that she could get away from this guy? But she left behind 3 little boys, and maybe her lifestyle, they said she lived a transient lifestyle. She was sick, she had lupus. Maybe she wasn't able to care for them, or did she go missing because someone didn't want her to come into court and talk and say something that could incriminate them? I don't know. Couldn't find anything more on either of the 2 people, but I will come back and do a follow-up if I should come across any new information. This next story also involves the disappearance of a mother of 3. New Orleans Police Department is seeking information on 39-year-old Krystle Journee, who went missing in December of 2021. The mother of 3 was headed to a concert in New Orleans with her ex-boyfriend, but she never returned home. Born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, it's no surprise that Krystle loved to have fun. Her oldest child, 22-year-old Dominique, told Dateline that she considers her mother her best friend. She's very goofy and outgoing and loving. She just loves to have fun, she said. She was described as a free spirit. On December the 22nd, 2021, the mother of 3 planned to go out and have fun. She was headed to a concert. Her daughter told Dateline that her mother loves music and going to concerts. It was a pastime for her. And she was going to see a rapper who was performing in New Orleans that night. She told police that her mother was going with her ex-boyfriend, Roosevelt Marshall. Now, her daughter lives in Texas and spoke with her mother that morning, but they didn't talk much. She just said she was resting due to the fact that she had just gotten out of the hospital. I didn't want to disturb her, her daughter said. I told her I'll talk to you later, but I didn't. I never got the chance. Dateline learned that Krystle said she had been treated for a cyst and had been in the hospital. Dateline spoke with the New Orleans Police Department, who stated that Krystle reportedly left her home and got into a black Toyota Avalon with the license plate 102 EQM. She was on her way to the concert, but she never came home. Now, did she make it to the concert? Did anyone else see her there? Did they go speak to anyone at this concert venue? I know that would have been... I don't know that this was a big, huge theater. I think it was a smaller venue, and I don't know if they did that or not. The press release, it goes on to say that Krystle is believed... the car is believed to have belonged to Roosevelt Marshall, and he is believed to have been the last person to see Journee before she was reported missing. Krystle's sister said that she's not even sure Krystle made it to the concert. She said the family tried to get footage from the concert venue, hoping to spot Krystle, but they were unable to do that. They said that they did have footage of Krystle leaving the house that night. We rolled the cameras back. We know she got into the car with him. And they gave all of that over to the authorities. There have been no updates on Krystle's case. Krystle's daughter remembers meeting Roosevelt when she was about 16 years old. He seemed like a good guy, she says. He seemed sweet and caring. That's how he came off. But I later went on to change my opinion about him. I started to realize he wasn't portraying himself as who he really was. According to New Orleans police, Marshall is wanted for 2 incidents dating back to 2020. An arrest warrant was issued for him for the unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and aggravated assaults. In the police report, The victim stated that she and Marshall had gotten into an argument because he thought that she was breaking up with him. She told the officer that Marshall grabbed the keys from her hands to her car and started to drive away. She said she tried to reach into the car, and at that point he accelerated and dragged her until she let go of the car. 4 months later, on December the 10th, 2020, another arrest warrant was issued for Marshall for battery of a dating partner. In the police report obtained by Dateline, the victim stated that after trying to flee her ex-boyfriend's Marshall's car, he grabbed her scarf that she was wearing and held on to it, striking her in the face with his fist. The responding officer noted severe bruising on her face. She had blood on her left side of her face and in her ear. Her earring had been ripped out. The report stated that the victim had been dating Marshall for about 9 years on and off. Krystle's family isn't really sure how long Krystle and Marshall dated, but they told Dateline that they were on and off for a couple of years. They say that the two were no longer a couple, but decided to get together to go to this concert. The New Orleans Police Department told Dateline in an email that Krystle's disappearance is an ongoing active investigation. They stated that they are seeking Roosevelt Marshall for questioning as a person of interest, but he is not currently wanted on criminal charges related to this. Dateline also tried to locate him for a comment, but they were unsuccessful. It was Christmas Day when her family finally realized that something was wrong. Her daughter had called her aunt crying, saying, "I've been trying to get in touch with her, but I haven't had any contact." So they decided it was time to start trying to find out where Krystle was. They went and started talking to the police. Her sister told Dateline it wasn't unusual for Krystle to be out of contact for a couple of days. Sometimes she would go spend the night with friends. But it was unusual for her not to respond to her daughter's text messages or calls. It was very alarming that she didn't respond to anybody. I tried over and over to call her, but she didn't respond. The family filed a missing person report on December the 26th, 2021. They've been looking for Krystle ever since. They told Dateline that the family has hired a private investigator, and they've reached out to multiple missing persons pages. They've been trying to keep her mother's name out there. According to the New Orleans Police Department, Krystle was last seen wearing a cream-colored dress, a hat, and black boots. She was described as 5 foot 5 inches tall and about 190 pounds. She's a black female with a caramel complexion and freckles. She has multiple tattoos, including Betty Boop on her foot, an elephant on her thigh, and a peacock on her right leg. Krystle looks younger than her age and always seems to fix herself up and is described as real pretty. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of Krystle Journee or Roosevelt Marshall is asked to contact the New Orleans 5th District Detectives at 504-658-6050. So they're asking for information on his whereabouts. Was he gone missing as well, or was it just that he was avoiding speaking to the police? Did any of his family say that they hadn't been in contact with him? I don't think that was the case. I don't think that he was, a missing persons report was filed on him. I think that he just wasn't cooperating. He just wasn't coming in to speak to the police. She was last thought to have been seen on 1600 block of Mandeville Street in New Orleans, Louisiana, on December the 22nd, 2021. she left her home and got into the car with Marshall, a black Toyota Avalon. A photo of him is posted in her case summary, and he is considered a person of interest. Now it goes on to talk some more about this case that had these charges filed against him involving this other woman. And then he had assaulted in August of 2020, over a year prior to Journee's disappearance. He was charged, and then it goes on to talk about the domestic battery case with this other woman. I think that they had come and spoke to Krystle Journee about this, and she told them that he had a long history of domestic violence, that she also had been a victim of domestic violence from Marshall. She said that it was verbal and physical, and that he had threatened to kill her. So here's the answer to the question I asked a minute ago. Marshall dropped out of sight after Krystle Journee went missing. Her family hired a private investigator, and they found Marshall in Cobb County, Georgia. He was arrested in August 2022 for the charges on the other woman. The charges were later dropped, and he has never been charged in anything to do with Krystle's disappearance, although the police in Georgia did question him about this. He's never been questioned by the police in New Orleans or Louisiana. Krystle's family believes that she met with foul play. They say it's uncharacteristic of her to not be in contact with her 3 children, and she would not have gone that long without responding to them. And once again, if you have any information on Krystle, you can contact the New Orleans Police Department at 504-658-6050. Thanks for watching.